everybody. Welcome back to A Speech a Week with me, Pippa, your host, the British acting coach. We are looking at Julia this week from the fabulous Two Gentlemen of Verona, one of Shakespeare's earlier written plays, one of Shakespeare's plays that he wrote allegedly earlier than a lot of the others. I'm going to tie my hair up because I did get caught in the rain earlier and it's a little bit fuzzy. And we're going to be looking at Act 2, Scene 7. So I'm really excited about this. Two Gents is one of the most underrated Shakespeare plays, and it is absolutely brilliant. The ending, debatable, but the language, the story, the jokes, it is just so good. And this scene in particular, I was just thinking about, I'm going to see As You Like It with Northern Broadside soon, and I was thinking of Viola and her alter ego Cesario, Rosalind turning into Ganymede, and Julia is one of Shakespeare's heroines who dresses differently to follow her love, to do something important to her, and she has such a brilliant growth story in the play. Indeed, I think all the characters do, really. And I just really wanted to have a little look at this scene. And if you actually look, I don't know how or why, but my script is somewhat battered. I don't know if I got really like peckish one time and just bit into it, or maybe was really trying to absorb the language. I don't know, but my script is disgusting. Hello, Ernest. Welcome back. I am actually just going to really quickly shut my door because my partner is on a call as well, and got my lighting set up as well, so super exciting. I don't want to put him off too much with me being all dramatic upstairs. I hope you're well, Ernest. Really good to see you. And everyone else, if you are watching this live, welcome. You are so welcome here. This is a safe space where we explore Shakespeare together. Sometimes I get stuff wrong. It doesn't matter. Acting is all about experimenting and learning together and working together in a rehearsal room and making these things accessible and understandable for everyone, especially the audience and especially you. So this is a safe space for you to explore. Do engage in the chat function if you want to. And also, if you're not watching this live, comment below if you've got any questions or thoughts, anything you want to add. I love hearing from you, and it's so good to talk all this stuff out, especially if you are, stuck at home most of the time looking at this on your own. This is an opportunity to have that conversation with someone who's done a lot of Shakespeare and kind of knows what they're talking about, and just explore together. And it says you can't just chew on the covers, you have to read William Shakespeare. Exactly. And that is one thing I've stuck to since doing this live, I was about to say franchise then, this live journey with Shakespeare through my sonnet a days. You have to read Shakespeare out loud. It is really no good being sat down and reading this to yourself in your head. You really do have to get it up on its feet. You have to stand, you have to talk, and at the very minimum, mouth the words that you are learning or saying. That's a video for another time. So let me get my script again. I threw it over here for some reason. Let's have a little look at it then. So I don't normally give you a real big detailed breakdown of what's going on, but just to kind of fill you in, Julia's love, Proteus, has ran off to Milan to support his best friend in his endeavours. In fact, I think his dad sends him because I think his dad is like, you need to live a little bit, kid, and go work. And Julia's heartbroken. She's like, where's my love? It's not fair. I want to go follow him. And so she does. This is the scene where she decides, where she speaks to Lucetta, who is her maid, or Lucetta. I do think it's Lucetta. I prefer that, but everyone might say it differently. Where she's talking to her maid, her friend, her confidant, and asking her to help her go on this journey and follow her love to Milan. And the language in this scene is to die for. And it says, but my wife thinks I am strange when I speak it out loud. Oh well, indeed. We've got to get over that. If we're going to be actors, Ernest, get over it. You can do it. Get her to read in the other parts for you. And I'm sure she will absolutely love it as well. So the main bit I wanted to kind of talk through, but I will read it all out loud up until this point, is from line 24. Julia says, "The more thou dampst it up, the more it burns." From that bit, that chunk in particular, indeed the whole of this scene, and we'll probably do the rest of this scene next week, is just fantastic. And that's the bit I really, really wanted to look at. But what I'll do, as I usually do, is lift it off the page for you and read the whole section out loud. I'm not going to perform it to my absolute best, but I am lifting it off the page. I'm giving it an active, engaged reading where I am meaning what I'm saying. And I will say Lucetta's lines as well. So have a read along. If you haven't got a hard copy like this or a complete works with you, just have a quick Google of Act 2, Scene 7, Two Gents, and you'll be able to find it online. All of his work, all of Shakespeare's work is available online for free. So you can access that. If you can access this on YouTube, you can absolutely access that. So let's give it a go. Enter Julia and Lucetta. Julia says, "Counsel, Lucetta, gentle girl, assist me, and even in kind love I do conjure thee, who art the table wherein all my thoughts are visibly charactered and engraved, to lesson me, and tell me some good mean, how with my honour I may undertake a journey to my loving Proteus." "Alas, the way is wearisome and long," says Lucetta. I'm going to make her northern, just so we've got a bit of differentiation there. "A true devoted pilgrim is not weary to measure kingdoms with his feeble steps, much less shall she that hath love's wings to fly, and when the flight is made to one so dear, of such divine perfection as Sir Proteus. Better forbear till Proteus make return. Oh, knowest thou not his looks are my soul's food? Pity the death that I have pined in, by longing for that food so long a time. Didst thou but know the inly touch of love, thou wouldst as soon go kindle fire with snow as seek to quench the fire of love with your words. I do not seek to quench your love's hot fire, but qualify the fire's extreme rage, lest it should burn above the bounds of reason. The more thou dampst it up, the more it burns. The current that with gentle murmur glides, thou knowest, being stopped, impatiently doth rage. But when his fair course is not hindered, he makes sweet music with the enamelled stones, giving a gentle kiss to every sedge he overtaketh in his pilgrimage. And so by many winding nooks he strays, with willing sport to the wild ocean. Then let me go, and hinder not my course. I'll be as patient as a gentle stream, and make a pastime of each weary step, till the last step hath brought me to my love, and there I'll rest, as after much turmoil a blessed soul doth in Elysium. But in what habit will you go along? Not like a woman, for I would prevent the loose encounters of lascivious men. Gentle Lucetta, fit me with such weeds as may beseem some well-reputed page." "Why then, your ladyship must cut your hair." "No, girl, I'll knit it up in silken strings with 20 odd conceited true love knots. To be fantastic may become a youth of greater time than I shall show to be." And we'll leave it there. Ta-da! So that's kind of the first half of that scene, I would say. I didn't plan Lucetta's accent, so that might have varied from Manchester to Lancashire to somewhere else. But there we go. So, what do we think? Isn't it divine? Can we just have a minute for this? So I'll quickly kind of spin you through most of it. "Counsel, Lucetta, gentle girl, assist me." In fact, while I do this, let me know if there's any bits that stood out to you, Ernest, or anyone that's watching, or if you are watching back. Let me know if there was any bits you were like, that was lush. Because I really think there's so many beautifully written moments in this speech and in this scene. I'd love to know what stood out for you, though, as a person maybe approaching this completely fresh, or someone who has had a little look at it already. Let me know what bits you really enjoyed. So counsel, Lucetta, gentle girl, assist me. Counsel, offer me counsel, help me, Lucetta. Gentle girl, she's ingratiating her, assist me. I think that with the line, I do conjure thee, who art the table wherein all my thoughts are visibly charactered and engraved, I do think that Lucetta is supposed to be a bit more of an older maid. Remember, that being said, life expectancy, I always bring this up because it's so important to remember, life expectancy was much shorter back then. However, I do think there is a few points where they make a point that Lucetta is a bit older. And this bit was actually cut when I did this play because the girl playing Lucetta was my age. So we made it like we were actually just friends, and she wasn't my servant or anything. She was just a pal that was always with me. And with Julia. And so when she says gentle, oh, I've got a thing flagged on my screen. Hopefully you can still hear and see me. When she says gentle girl, to call an older woman girl a gentle girl, I think there is a lot of ingratiating language there, but also potentially playful language, potentially bitchy language. It depends what relationship you establish with your Lucetta, if you're playing Julia and Lucetta to you. But I do think there's some ingratiation there. I do think that she's kind of asking Lucetta to call on her wisdom and her life experience to help me. It says to lessen me and to tell me some good mean, how with my honor, remember honor in those days was very different and important to now. Well, in some cultures it still is, but these days I may undertake a journey. Tell me, you look like you know the answer to my predicament here and how to help me get to my loving Proteus. That's essentially that chunk. I haven't translated it too much, but too specifically, but as you know, that's very important. But just for time's sake, we're whizzing through to get to the bit we want to work on. And Ernest has put, before we carry on, the dialogue flows. Lots of time I need to reread Shakespeare to glean the meaning, right? Not here. Shakespeare brought his A game for this passage. And I think he did for this whole play. It's one of the easiest plays to read. And I'm not sure why this one isn't in GCSE and A-level work, because it is so easy to grasp. And this is the first time I read the whole thing like a book. And I always say you've got to get up on its feet and say it out loud. But this one I just got. I was mouthing the words a lot of the times through it. But I remember being on a train, having to read this quite quickly with short prep for the audition. And I got it. It just went in. So yeah, do really tuck into this one if you do struggle with it, and still do get it up on its feet if you can, and have a little read through with some friends or something. Ernest says it's very conversational, two girls speaking to each other and we are listening, right? Not as other Shakespeare passages where the dialogue is intended directly for us. Yes, exactly. So usually when I pick a soliloquy, because the soliloquy is directed to the audience, I pick speeches for this project that are directed to the audience or have lots of lovely moments where that could happen. This one, not so much. You definitely could, and I'm sure Lucetta especially maybe would have some eye rolls to the audience. What's this silly girl saying? Absolutely not. Perhaps while Julia is talking. Without upstaging her, of course. But then I think, you know, Julia could be trying to get the audience on the side as well. So there's lots of subtle ways you could introduce that. But like you say, it feels like we're just eavesdropping on this conversation. And I think that's lovely. I think it's very simple and clear. So good, lovely, Ernest, thank you. So yes, I may undertake a journey to my loving Proteus. Lucetta says, alas, the way is wearisome and long. It's too far and too tiring. No, essentially. Julia then says, a true devoted pilgrim is not weary to measure kingdoms with his feeble steps. In our version, we changed it to her feeble steps, which I think is a good thing to do. Julia is combating that. She's saying, no, but a true pilgrim doesn't think about how long or tiring the journey is. They measure kingdoms with their little steps. So she's saying it doesn't matter. And we're really starting to see Julia's devotion to Proteus. For a woman to travel solo at this time on a boat across seas, across a very, very far away, would cost money. It would be dangerous, as she says later on in the scene. And she's saying she doesn't care. She is a true devoted pilgrim. And of course, in context of the whole play, it's really important that we see Julia is 100% committed to Proteus, because, spoiler alert, Proteus does, as soon as he sees someone else who is also beautiful, he starts to pursue her. And herein lies the conflict and the drama between their relationship. And it says, yes, travel was a monster back in the day. It's really important to remember that, because today we think, oh, we just book a flight online and we should go to the airport in an hour and we can go to Italy this evening if we wanted to. There's a lot of, especially in England, we've got Europe on our doorstep. We don't understand now how hard it was back then to travel, and the preparation, and having no internet, trying to organize a trip overseas across borders. And so remember that she's really, really committed and eager and doesn't care about the risks. And I think that's really important to remember. And yeah, Ernest says, and so dangerous for young women. Disguise as a man was not uncommon. Absolutely. There's so many wonderful stories about women doing that. Some for preference reasons and living in that time, not even for traveling. I think of Albert Hobbs. Wonderful performance from Glenn Close. I've definitely mentioned it on here before, but that's a story about I think it's a Victorian woman who preferred to appear a man. Excellent story, really touching. Definitely watch it. So carrying on, much less shall she see how hard that is, shall she, much less shall she that hath love's wings to fly. Whenever you find a cluster of words or syllables, or not syllables, well, syllables, consonants that are tricky to navigate like that, practice them. Muscular them up and get used to saying them. It will make it so much easier. But it's lovely, that line. Much less shall she that hath love's wings to fly. And when the flight is made to one so dear, of such divine perfection as Sir Proteus. A pilgrim can be that devoted and won't worry about the feeble steps. Because she's got love's wings to fly. She's using all this wonderful imagery to express her love. And when that flight is made to one so dear, it's beautiful. I'm welling up just reading this, of such divine perfection as Sir Proteus. And of course, the brilliant thing, and I think this is another reason why there's a bit less of audience direction in this scene, is because the audience have already seen that Proteus is a backstabbing bastard, and probably not actually gonna be there for her. We've literally just a scene or two before experienced Proteus's excellent speech, even as one heat another heat expels, which we've looked at before on this. You can go back and watch that if you haven't read that speech before, but it's fabulous, where Proteus confides into the audience that he is actually kind of going to pretend that Julia's dead and pursue Sylvia. So the audience will be listening to Julia say all of this and have this conversation with Lucetta and be like, oh, she hasn't got a clue yet. This is awful. What's going to happen? It's a brilliant way of writing. The audience feel very clever and very smart in this play. It's brilliantly done. And it says, like a love's crusade or a quest to a holy place. Yes, there's lots of pure language there, isn't there? Talking about religion and pilgrimage to a holy place. I think that's a quest. I think that's the perfect way to put it. And I think it needs that. We're embarking on a quest energy. Just like in my thumbnail, I grabbed my rucksack and was like, I'm just like excited. And I think there's got to be that kind of drive and excitement going on in this scene for Julia, especially. And I love as well that she says Sir Proteus in this scene. And I think it in this little chunk of text. And I think, again, it says a lot about her romanticized idea of love. a bit like, I'm thinking of Princess Fiona in Shrek. She's like, oh, and he's going to come up here and it's going to be brilliant and he'll be beautifully handsome and his steed, his noble steed will be down there and I'll have a handkerchief and he'll accept that as a token of my gratitude. And then of course it doesn't happen. And I think for me, it's making me think of like a knight in shining armor, Sir Proteus. And she's really like reveling in handsomeness and his brilliance and glory. And it's really playful as well, I think. So Lucetta says, better forbear till Proteus make return. Better forbear till Proteus make return. There's lots of lovely, quick language in this where the rhythm just rides it out. And there's no real, you know, sometimes, which we've talked about before, Shakespeare will do half a line. He does it in Hermione in Winter's Tale a little, do half a line and then the next character will come in on that line. It means that that's a quick, not an interruption necessarily, but a quick run on rather than a pause. And in here, there is none of that. It's just the full line. And I think Lucetta gets the full line. And because this is an earlier written play, maybe Shakespeare hadn't played around with that quite yet. The idea of one character starting 5 syllables or 4 syllables and the next coming in for the final 6 of that line. So interesting. He doesn't do that here, but I think it adds a lovely moment of tennis between the two characters that's long enough to for it to sink in for the audience, if you know what I mean. I think when you start talking and you've got a quick line, if you say it too fast, the audience don't really clock what you've said. I think it's a nice kind of Julia's going, Julia's going, Julia's going, Lucetta says something, you know, I think it's a good balance. I think it's well balanced in this scene. So moving along, Lucetta says, better forbear, wait till Proteus comes back. And Julia says, this is divine. I don't know how this isn't one of the most famous quotes on love by Shakespeare. Oh, knowest thou not his looks are my soul's food? Oh, do you not know that my soul feeds on his looks? When he looks at me, my soul feels satiated. Come on, wowzers. And it says he is put on a pedestal, not a surprise that he doesn't quite live up to the expectation. Indeed, indeed, she really is bigging him up and smitten with him. And it's sad. It's sad because he's a bit of a douche. Oh, knowest thou not his looks are my soul's food? And remember as well, I think when Shakespeare says looks, it doesn't necessarily mean his like aesthetics. It means when he looks at me. I'm learning Helena at the moment, and there's a bit in there as well where she says, she talks a lot about him looking on Hermia's eyes. Looked on Hermia's eyes, Ein. He held down oath. It's all appearances obviously were very important back in those days, and they still are today, but I think it is more of a when his eyes meet mine, when I see him look at me, that feeling you get. And I know most of you have felt that, where someone you've got a crush on or who you love entirely looks at you, you get that blush, you get that sweat. I do anyway. And I think that's what she's saying, that, oh, knowest thou not his looks are my soul's food? And that's a question. Do you not know this, Lucetta? Let her think about it. Pity the death that I said pinned in earlier, pined in, by longing for that food so long a time. And I said dearth or dearth. I think it's dearth, but let's just have another little look on that one, because that's a word that most of us are absolutely not familiar with. In fact, I do recommend this edition, by the way. This is the RSC single editions of the play scripts. I do recommend them. At the bottom, they always kind of put a quick definition of words that maybe we aren't too familiar with or what people may get confused with. but I don't know if it actually says it here, which is really odd. Oh, there we go. Famine. There we go. So yes, I've just looked it up as well. It says a scarcity or lack of something.
Dearth.
Dearth. So dearth, not death. I'll read those in a moment. Hi, Rodney. Welcome. So pity the dearth that I have pined in. Pity the famine that I have pined in. Look at the language and the interesting words she's using here. Pity the famine. She's not saying pity me. She's saying pity the famine. Pity the starvation I have longed in. By longing for that food so long a time. So she's playing on the metaphor of his looks being her soul's food. She's carrying on with that by longing for that food so long a time, full stop. Didst thou but know the inly touch of love? And I think this could be quite catty as well. Didst thou but know the inly touch? If you knew what love was, the inly touch of love, thou wouldst as soon go kindle fire with snow as seek to quench the fire of love with words. So this is an interesting analogy as well. And I remember having a lot of debate around this, but before we go into it, let's just see what's been said here. Ernest says, that is good. Funny, the passage didn't resonate with me the first time. Interesting. But another reason, if you are a performer of Shakespeare or you're going for a Shakespeare audition, to take your time with this language. I think people often race over it if they don't quite get it, or they say, they just say it quickly because they think, oh, I'm uncomfortable saying it. But that makes it way harder for not only you to digest as the actor, but the audience. This is slightly heightened language to what we're used to, but it's all in there for them. They just need a moment for that penny to drop and for it to sit in them. So maybe, Ernest, maybe I read that way too fast because I was enjoying it so much. I'll slow it down when I read it again at the end, because so it can sink in more, you know. First reference to soul food, ? Soul food makes me sweat. Are you talking like spicy food? Ronnie says, late joining here, bigging him up is a great line too. First time I've heard that line. Hey Rodney, glad you are here. Ah, oh, lovely. Bigging him up. Does she actually say that at some point? What bit is it you're saying is a great line too? Is it the knowest thou not his looks and my soul's food? Let me know. I just love it. So moving on from that bit that we just need to cover. Didst thou but know the inly touch of love? And this is a bit confusing, I think, at first. Yes, African American food is known as soul food. Yes. I really struggle with spicy things and all of that. I love trying it, but I'm mostly vegan, so I struggle sometimes to find things. But I've had some jerk tofu and jerk pulled jackfruit. Oh, and it's so good. But I can't handle the spice when it's too spicy. You, Pippa, said that. I said that. Bigging him up. Yes. Okay, I see. But that's what she's doing. And it's beautiful. Like I said, I don't know if you saw what I mentioned earlier, Rodney, but Proteus, by this point, has already told the audience that he is not on her side anymore and that he is going to compass Sylvia. He says, I'll check my erring love. If I can check my erring love, I will. If not, to compass her, I'll use my skill. He's said that he is already getting very keen on somebody else. So the audience have seen that very fresh in their mind. And now we're seeing Julia just say how brilliant he is. The heartbreak is already happening for the audience. The British will fight wars over spices, but not use them in their food. Oh, God, it's so embarrassing, isn't it? Don't get me started, Ernest. But that's very true. And I'm, yes, embarrassed to agree with you there, but it's true. So, didst thou but know the inly touch of love? Did you but know what love is? Thou wouldst as soon go kindle fire. If you kindle fire, you bring it up, right? You make it. Kindling makes the fire grow. Kindle fire with snow as seek to quench the fire of love with words. What do we think that point is. What is she actually saying there? Did you know the inly touch of love? Thou wouldst as soon go kindle fire with snow as seek to quench the fire of love with words. So there's fire, love, quench, snow, which is wet and stops fire. What is she saying there, do we think? Let me know. I do not seek to quench your love's hot fire. So quench your love's hot fire. I think this helps in understanding it. This is what Lucetta says. But qualify the fire's extreme rage. If you qualify something, you kind of measure it and figure it out, I think, and put it in a box a little bit, lest it should burn above the bounds of reason. So here again is another brilliant example of direction. I think Julia is a force of nature here, and we're going to see that force of nature through the imagery that she uses in the next chunk of text. But I think Lucetta is a bit like, calm the heck down, girlfriend. I need to qualify. We need to figure, you need to think logically here. Yeah. And I think that's maybe what's going on here. So I think it's really important. Like I said earlier, Julia comes in like a fire, and she does. The scene begins straight away. Counsel, Lucetta, gentle girl, assist me. How I may get to my love. How can I do this? How? And I think that pace and that drive and that determination, fire has to be there. And it says, inly? Let's Google it. I think it's inly, as in inward, the intimate. Inwardly, it says here, if we look that up in the dictionary. I mean, it's very basic. That's all it says. So basic. Inly stung with anger and disdain. I think it's did you but really feel and know what love is? I keep doing this motion, you know, like it's in you, it's an inward. Did you but know the inly touch of, in fact, I think I just made that up. What is it she says? Didst thou but know the inly touch of love, thou wouldst as soon go kindle fire with snow as seek to quench the fire of love with words. So I think she's saying there, oh, but she's got but in there, hasn't she? I didn't pick up anger. Oh, in that bit, you don't think she's being a bit at her. Interesting. Didst thou but know the inly touch of love? Did thou not know that? So yeah, this is what I think she's saying here. If you don't know the inly touch of love, you would go kindle fire with snow. You would put out a kindling fire as seek to quench the fire of love with words, which is what she's kind of doing now. You would shush me and squash what I'm saying with everything that you're saying because you don't know what love is. So I think that's what Julia is saying here. Didst thou but know the inly touch of love, thou wouldst as soon go kindle fire with snow as seek to quench the fire of love with words. I do not seek to quench your love's hot fire. So Lucetta's then saying, no, I'm not trying to do that. I just need to qualify this and check and make sure that you are doing the right thing, you know? More disdain, I guess, says Ernest. Perhaps, but again, it's all up for interpretation, you know. If she is that excitable and that fiery, and we've already seen as well earlier on in the play how Julia is quick to act and slow to think, or no, it's she's quick to think, therefore quick to act, but slow to think of the repercussions of her actions. She really wants to read that letter from Proteus, but she tears it up in spite of herself, and then is really pissed at herself for doing that. So I think, again, we're learning a lot about these characters, and coming back to something that my brilliant director said to me once, they have a speed of will. The speed of will has to be 100 miles per hour. They don't think about what might happen. They just think it and then go for it. And I think that's one of the most important things to remember with any of Shakespeare's characters. Yes, they may plot a little bit, but they mean what they say. There is no subtext. They go through the actions and they mean it when they say it. It's quick, it's fast. So let's move on to the main chunk because we are spending a lot of time in this. But does that all make sense? Let me know if you have any questions. That makes sense in my brain though. And I like that as well. Lest it should burn above the bounds of reasons. Burn above the bounds of reason. Brilliant use of language there. The use of that b sound. Burn above the bounds of reason. Again, these are big words. Bounds, above the bounds. Burn above the bounds. It's a really lovely, lovely, beautiful line from Shakespeare. And then we move on to Julia and this lovely imagery that she introduces us to and carries on with. It's brilliant. I don't feel like Shakespeare uses the idea of burning love as much in other plays. Correct me if I'm wrong, or if you can think about it. But I love in this scene there is this real burning desire and burning fire and passion. And I don't feel like we get that as much in, Romeo and Juliet and things. I think it's, I'm intrigued. I'll have to have a little look into that. But I think this has a real burning. Something burns. Oh, I can't articulate it, but it's making me feel something very specific. So again, give yourself that moment, just like I did there. I was just thinking on it. Give yourself that moment to process it, how you would feel if you were saying that it burns in me. This passion for him burns in me. It's amazing. And I think in today's day and age with technology and everything, we don't talk like that anymore. Back in those days, you had to use language to woo and court. Look at Bridgerton, to actually get your meaning across. And so being educated and eloquent enough to articulate yourself romantically and with your passion and everything could change everything in your life and your relationships and your marriage and everything. Whereas today it's not, oh, I love you. People can be really embarrassed to say that. But I think if you're acting Shakespeare, you've got to remember there's no embarrassment. People feel it and they say it. Even the women, even if they're a position of weakness or whatever, they still say what they mean and commit to that. Ernest says it reminds me of Romeo and Juliet. Interesting. They're all thinking with the Southern Hemisphere. Yeah, but I feel like it's the Southern Hemisphere here, not just, the passion of lust. I do think it is. I think it's south of the neck, personally, south of the waistline, controlled by their urges. Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. I do think it's a lust thing as well. But I think it's mostly lust for Proteus, as we see towards the end of this play with the potential rape situation. I think it is a true love, though, as well, for the likes of Valentine and Sylvia and Julia for Proteus. But I think Proteus is slightly more psychotic, quite frankly. So here we go on to the main course. The more thou dampst it up, the more it burns. The more you dam it up, if you dam something, block it up, the more it burns. The more you fight it, the harder it will fight back. And that's just the first line she says, full stop. The more thou damnst it up, the more it burns. She's so sure of herself here. She's such a freaking badass. I love her. Hey, lust can be true. Oh, absolutely. Lust is very true and honest, a thing to feel. But I don't think it is just a sexual driven thing, especially for Julia. At this point, I'm not convinced they have crossed that line and her maidenhead has been removed, as it were. I think there is a real innocence here. And even with Proteus, I do think he's innocent and doesn't quite realize, again, the repercussions of his actions. And he is said to be a forerunner for Iago in Othello, who is a lot more calculated and mature and understanding of what he's doing and enjoying that. Whereas I think Proteus is just riding it out and not thinking of the consequences. Iago, I think, has this objective to frickin' destroy Othello from the off. But anyway, there we go. The more thou dampst it up, the more it burns. The current that with gentle murmur glides, thou knowest, being stopped, impatiently doth rage. I mean, it's just brilliant language. The current. So now she's gone straight into an image of a current, a river, a stream. So she's going, it's interesting she goes for that analogy, because when she says damped it up, I thought of like a river, but she's still talking about a burning river. So it's interesting that this fire and water imagery is kind of, it normally kind of contradicts itself. But again, I don't know if that just shows her naivety perhaps a little bit, or if it shows her, yeah, how youthful she is. She can't quite, again, articulate it brilliantly well. But it works. I think it really works. And I love this idea of the, oh, in fact, actually, hot springs. Of course, right. This is making sense now. Great. Light bulb moment. So I've talked a little bit before about the many gigs I did at the Roman Baths in Bath Spa, and this idea of hot springs. There's definitely in one of the sonnets a talk of, is it Diana and this hot river flowing, and I think actually that's probably what is going on here. So there you go. The more thou dancest up, the current that with gentle murmur glides, thou knowest me stop, impatiently doth rage. There's no more talk of heat there, I think. Yeah, okay, interesting. But passion, it's in the last few of the sonnets, isn't it? I don't think I've got my sonnet book to hand, unfortunately, but in the last few of the sonnets, he does talk a little about this heat, doesn't he? Sorry, I'm going to find it because this is bothering me. Diane's advantage found the love-kindling fire did quickly steep in a cold valley fountain of that ground, which borrowed from this holy fire of love a dateless lively heat, still to endure, and grew a seething bath, which yet men prove against strange maladies a sovereign cure. Brilliant. So yes, this idea of a hot stream or a natural hot stream was said to have, or hot spring was said to have healing qualities and been touched by love or passion or the gods or whatnot. So really interesting there, actually. So that imagery is kind of contradictory in my mind, but those are real feats of natural beauty where that happens. So it does work. Hey, Lusk Mature, I thought, and it says, I thought of a fire starved for oxygen when exposed to air will show its pent up heat. Brilliant. Rodney, I'm going to see La Boheme Sunday. Are you talking in class? Hilarious. How exciting. Where are you going to see it? Let me know. Rodney's a big opera guy. So we'll have a little chat about that. So the current that with gentle murmur glides, thou knowest being stopped, impatiently doth rage. And it's not just the current that with gentle murmur glides, being stopped impatiently will rage. It's, you know, that if you try and stop this gentle force of nature, it will become an impatient rage. Crazy. Detroit Opera Theatre, wowzers. Passing notes, hilarious. Gonna turn around, you're throwing a paper aeroplane at each other. Love it. It's such lovely language, isn't it? Thou knowest, you know, it will get worse. So again, I kind of love that. You know, if you don't give the kid the thing now, they're gonna keep screaming and scream louder and harder until you give them the bag of what's-its, right? I love that, and I think it's, again, a very innocent, childlike thing to comment on, but she's doing it relatively maturely. You know, she's like, but you know this, Lucetta, you've lived a little bit. She's drawing again on her Lucetta's experience, I think, an understanding of what is going on here. And then it says here, but when his fair course is not hindered, he makes sweet music with the enamelled stones, giving a gentle kiss to every sedge he overtaketh on his pilgrimage. And so by many winding nooks he strays with willing sport to the wild ocean. She's taking us on this lovely journey down a nook. I'm thinking of a hill with lots of pebbles, maybe in Scotland or something. She's taking us down. You know that it will kiss every rock tenderly and it will flow effortlessly through every nook gracefully on its pilgrimage until it meets the wild ocean. Beautiful, huh? And also, I've been reading what book is it? Peter Ackroyd's Shakespeare, the biography, and he talks a lot about what Shakespeare would have witnessed growing up in Stratford, and what kind of natural things he would have seen and what kind of flowers and all of that sort of thing. And it's just really interesting to think of, because in London, obviously, back in those days, there would have been little streams and currents leading to the Thames, which leads to the ocean. There would have been all of that. But he would have seen that. We think of London as, you know, all these currents and water, unless you go to Scotland or some countryside and you see these streams and lovely, you know, nooks of water just running through the grass and the pebbles and the trees. You don't really, I think, again, yeah, we don't really think of that imagery and that purity of nature because we're so distracted by concrete and everything else. But it's really important to remember that. And she's using this beautifully. So well done. She goes on to explain, but when the river's course is not stopped, he makes sweet music to the enameled stones, giving a gentle kiss. It's a lovely pilgrimage. It's a kind journey. It's a nice journey. So again, I think she's trying to plant the seed in Lucetta's eyes and mind that it will be safer if she lets her go. And then we've got, then let me go. So she feels, I think she must feel like she's sort of won her over by this point. A lovely direction from Shakespeare again. Then let me go and hinder not my course. I'll be as patient as a gentle stream and make a pastime of each weary step till the last step hath brought me to my love. And there I'll rest as after much turmoil a blessed soul doth in Elysium. So Elysium heaven. I feel like it's crystal clear. Would you agree? It's as crystal clear as the fresh water coming from a mountain that you can drink without having to purify. And it's lovely. It's so lovely. And also, I've just realized Lucetta is trying to qualify, just going back to that bit where she says, but qualify the fire's extreme rage. If she lets Julia go in this crazy fiery passion, she will be in danger because she'll be naive. She'll be a bit stupid. She'll be making quick decisions. So I think Lucetta, although maybe isn't keen on her going from the beginning, she's also aware that Julia needs to mature a little bit and keep a head and a lid on that fire and that rage so that she can act accordingly and then meet the ocean, which is what Julia, the imagery that Julia gives, which is great. Clean imagery, says Ernest, right? It's beautifully done. Rodney says, wonderful, Ernest. Act 2 is a masterpiece, intimate scene inside a public happening. Zeffirelli staged it like no other. Act 3 is so cold. Saw a young Domingo in Fort Worth, featuring Worth, in the title role in 1971. Oh, gosh. We do need to organise a meetup so we can actually like talk about all this amazing theatre, brilliant stuff. It would be brilliant. So yeah, I mean, I feel like there's not much to kind of break down here, but if you have got questions about this and you're like, I still don't get that, then comment and let me know. And then Lucetta says, but in what habit will you go along? In what habit? In what dress will you wear? What will you wear? How will you look when you do this? And Julia says, not like a woman, for I would prevent the loose encounters of lascivious men. And that's one of my absolute favorite lines. I won't go as a female because I would rather prevent the loose encounters, the free behavior, the dangerous moments that I might have with lascivious men. Let's look up lascivious, actually. It's one of the best words. Shakespeare does uses it a bit, and I freaking love it. feeling or revealing an overt sexual interest or desire. It's definitely in one or two of the sonnets, I believe. Or is it? Probably is. I would prevent the loose encounters of lascivious men. Again, these lovely dark L's there. They're a gift for you to play. I would prevent the sexual outbursts from men coming at me, the harassment. She's essentially saying, I won't dress as a woman because I don't want to be harassed. Brilliant. Gentle Lucetta, fit me with such weeds as may beseem some well-reputed page. Dress me as a page boy, a well-to-do page boy. Che Galadia Maninia always gets to me. Sorry, Pippa, we're straying. Pay attention, fellas, in the back row. No, it's good. It's good. Carry on. I love all the passion for all the theatre. It's fabulous. Now I've totally forgot where I was though, but not like a woman. Yes, so she's saying, dress me like a well-reputed page. Lucetta then says, why then? Your ladyship must cut your hair. And I think that's a lovely moment where Julia maybe realizes, I don't want to cut my hair. And she says, no, girl, I'll knit it up in silken strings with 20 odd conceited true love knots. And I'm not gonna lie, when I read that, I was like, great, I'm gonna get cornrows. And I was picturing that. I was like, that would be amazing if we had cornrows. But I did get asked to cut my hair, and I did cut my hair exceptionally short for this part. And so I think we actually cut that bit. Anyway, to be fantastic may become a youth of greater time than I shall show to be. Interesting. We're going to leave it there because I'm going to have to fly, but we'll start there next week and we're going to carry on with the rest of this scene. So yeah, there's not really another speech bit. There's a few chunks of text from Julia, but it's a really lovely rest of scene, and there's some lovely some lovely imagery as well towards the end, which I want to go into. And I just love it. Isn't it delightful? Let's have another read of it. In fact, I'm just going to read from, oh, knowest thou not his looks are my soul's food. In fact, I won't read Lucetta's lines. I will just read Julia's lines. In fact, I'll read the whole of Julia's lines that we've done because I think it's important. I think getting the flow of all of that is good. So let's go for it. This is Julia, Act 2, Scene 7, just her lines all the way through to line 49. She's got to be excited, Counsel Lucetta, gentle girl, assist me. And even in kind love I do conjure thee, who art the table wherein all my thoughts are visibly charactered and engraved, to lesson me, and tell me some good mean, how, with mine honour, I may undertake a journey to my loving Proteus. A true devoted pilgrim is not weary to measure kingdoms with her feeble steps. Much less shall she that hath love's wings to fly, and when the flight is made to one so dear, of such divine perfection as Sir Proteus. Oh, knowest thou not his looks are my soul's food? Pity the dearth that I have pined in by longing for that food so long a time. Didst thou but know the inly touch of love, thou wouldst as soon go kindle fire with snow as seek to quench the fire of love with words. The more thou dampst it up, the more it burns. The current that with gentle murmur glides, thou knowest, being stopped impatiently doth rage. But when his fair course is not hindered, he makes sweet music with the enamelled stones, giving a gentle kiss to every sedge he overtaketh in his pilgrimage, and so by many winding nooks he strays with willing sport to the wild ocean. Then let me go, and hinder not my course. I'll be as patient as a gentle stream, and make a pastime of each weary step, till the last step hath brought me to my love. And there I'll rest, as after much turmoil a blessed soul doth in Elysium. Not like a woman, for I would prevent the loose encounters of lascivious men. Gentle Lucetta, fit me with such weeds as may beseem some well-reputed page. No, girl, I'll knit it up in silken strings with 20-odd conceited true love knots. To be fantastic may become a youth of greater time than I shall show to be. And we'll talk about that last bit next week to keep you hanging on, ready for the next episode. Well, I won't see you Domingo, but I do plan on a peaceful Sunday, says Ernest. But I do plan. I don't know why I felt like you were very heightened up here there. Rodney says, yes, that's Aria Alone, Buried Contempt production of the Leoncavallo La Boheme, which is a real opera as well, but got blown off the stage. Did it? Good stuff, young Pippa. Thanks for your patience. Ernest says, Placido Domingo actually means peaceful Sunday. Ah, every day is a school day. Especially here at A Speech a Week on my YouTube channel. Really good to see you guys. Thank you so much for joining in again. Any questions as always or thoughts, share with me. I'm going to be looking up this opera now and having a little dive into that, seeing what these chaps are all talking about. And share this with anyone who could enjoy it. Share your thoughts with me so I can learn from you and see what else sticks out for you from this bit of text and from Shakespeare and all of that jazz. And I can't wait to see you next week. We will carry on with the scene next week, and I'm finalizing my plan of action moving forward with this in terms of what speeches when and what scenes when. It's just taken me a little while, and I've had some auditions come through, so I've also been really busy trying to do my own stuff and juggling coaching all my recall people, which is exciting. So yes, I learned so much today, says Rodney. Legend. I'm so glad. Every day's a school day. It's always best to be forever learning, isn't it? Maybe we should get like a tattoo, a matching tattoo, guys. It says forever learning or something. Don't know where that came from. Okay, I'm gonna go. Really good to see you all. I'll see you next week for the next one, and have a lovely, lovely rest of your day. So long, people. Bye bye.